Hello and welcome. So, if you are someone who has ever had a brilliant idea for a side project, then you are in exactly the right place. We're going to talk about Ikigai today, but probably not in the way you've heard about it before. We're not treating it as some big, scary, mythical life purpose you have to go on a quest for. Instead, we're going to look at it as a really practical tool to help you build something you can actually stick with. So, where does this all start? Well, usually with a question we've all asked ourselves at some point. Yeah, this question right here. You know how it goes. You get that amazing jolt of excitement, you run and buy the domain name, you tell all your friends about this incredible new thing you're gonna do, and then a few weeks, maybe a few months later, it just fizzles out. It's gone. Why does that happen over and over and over again? It leads us to a pretty familiar place, doesn't it? Let's call it the side hustle graveyard. It's just filled with these ghosts of amazing ideas, projects that started with this huge bang but ended with a quiet little whimper. And if you actually look closely at why they all end up here, you start to see a few patterns emerging. And these are the feelings, right? The work just becomes a total slog. It drains you. That initial fire, that passion you felt, it's just gone. And it gets replaced by this feeling like you're pushing a giant boulder uphill. The progress feels so slow, it's like, why am I even doing this? And sometimes you realize the work itself just feels completely wrong for who you are.
But here is the most important thing I want you to hear today. This is not a personal weakness. It's not that you're lazy or you lack discipline. It's a design problem. The project wasn't designed to be sustainable from the very beginning. You didn't fail. The plan did. And that little reframe, that's the key to everything we're about to talk about.
So this brings us to a concept a lot of us have probably seen floating around the internet, which, ironically, often becomes part of the problem. I'm talking about the modern version of Ikigai, the one that sets up this ideal that is so perfect, it feels almost impossible to actually reach. You know the one I'm talking about, that famous four-circle Venn diagram. It looks so neat and clean on paper, right? But in the real world, it just creates this immense pressure to find that one single magical thing that perfectly ticks every single box. And the pressure comes from these four things. It has to be something you absolutely love, something you're a genius at, something the world desperately needs, and something you can get paid a ton of money for. The problem is waiting for this perfect cosmic alignment, this jackpot moment where all four overlap. It's a recipe for doing nothing at all. And this really just hits the nail on the head. When you apply this model too strictly, it becomes a roadblock. The very tool that's supposed to help you find meaningful work actually stops you from ever getting started. It's just not a useful model when you're at square one. So if that's the trap, what's the alternative? How do we get out of it? Well, we need to go back to the original concept of Ikigai, which is so much gentler, way more practical, and honestly, a whole lot more useful. See, the original meaning isn't about some grand, singular purpose you have to discover. It's about the small, repeatable things in your daily life that give you a sense of meaning and rhythm. It's about what gets you out of bed in the morning, not what's going to be written on your tombstone. The key word here is continuity. And this shift in thinking is so important. It moves us away from chasing this intense, fluctuating thing called passion and toward building for sustainability. Look, passion is great, but it's an emotion. It comes and it goes. Sustainability, on the other hand, is a system. It's practical, it's stable, and most importantly, it's repeatable, day after day. This right here is the core message. Stop hunting for the most exciting idea. Start hunting for the idea that you won't mind doing over and over and over again. Because consistency is what actually gets results, not these short, intense bursts of enthusiasm that burn out. Okay, so let's get really practical now. How do we actually use this new understanding? Well, we're going to start using Ikigai not as a map to some perfect, far-off destination, but as a filter, a tool to help us weed out the bad ideas from the start. Let's just reframe the entire objective. We are not searching for the one. We are simply trying to protect ourselves from burnout. The goal is just to pick a path that you'll actually stay on. That's it. So how do we build this filter? It starts with 4 simple, very practical lists. First, what are you already good at? No need to learn a whole new skill. Second, what activities do you enjoy or, and this is key, just tolerate? It doesn't have to be your one true love. Third, what problems or needs do you see around you? And fourth, what are people already opening their wallets for? Just brainstorm, no pressure. All right, now here is probably the most important part of this whole explainer, so lean in. You do not need all 4 of those lists to perfectly overlap. You just need 2. That's it, just 2. And here are some really powerful combinations to get you started. If you're already good at something that the world needs, that's a fantastic place to start. Or if you genuinely enjoy something that you also happen to be good at, perfect. Or maybe you find a need that people are already paying to solve. That's a solid foundation. Any one of these is more than enough to begin. So, let's say you have an idea that passes this 2-item filter. How do you know if it's really sustainable for you? You have to test it. But we're not testing for market viability or profits. We're testing it for your own personal energy. And here's a beautifully simple way to do it. Pick one core task related to your idea. Spend just 30 to 60 minutes doing it, and do it on 2 different days. That way, a bad mood on one day doesn't skew the results. And then, after each session, just notice. How did it feel? Did you have to drag yourself to do it? How was your energy level when you were done? Higher or lower?
And please, please remember, the results of this little test are not a grade. This isn't about whether you're good enough or disciplined enough. It is just information. It's data. If an idea feels totally draining after just 1 hour, that's incredibly valuable data, telling you that it might be a really poor long-term fit for you.
And just to be super clear, this process doesn't promise your idea is going to be a $1 million success. That's not what it's for. Its role is protection, not prediction. This whole tool is designed to act as a shield to help you avoid burnout, to keep you out of that side hustle graveyard. And that brings us to the final question to ask yourself. As you look at your ideas, don't ask which one is the most exciting or the most passionate. Ask yourself this instead. Which direction feels calmer? Which one brings a sense of calm, clear focus? That feeling of calm, that's the signal. That's the sign that you're on a truly sustainable path. And in the long run, that is a far more reliable guide than the fleeting rush of excitement.